Yes, sir.
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to another author contributor session. We are here with Mr. Sean Bell out of Atlanta. If you guys remember from the book, Mr. Bell, he actually wrote on two sections. One was about faith and one was about peace. I'll tell you guys, those are two kind of abstract concepts that when I was your age, I don't think I grasped. Like, I don't really think I understood what peace meant, right? I think I kept hearing people, like older people, they were always saying, peace of mind is everything, right? And it wasn't until I got older that I realized, yeah, peace of mind is everything. And also faith. Faith is something that I always associated with church. And as a young person, I was forced to go to church, so I wasn't really into it. But as I grew older, I realized that faith is definitely associated with my spirituality that happens to be linked to a church. But it's also just faith in general, like faith that things are going to work out for you, right? Faith that you're going to have this cup half full kind of mentality, right? Faith that you're going to reach your goals. So it's not always necessarily tied to spirituality or to church, but that's definitely an aspect of it. And so these were two things that I struggled with as a young man and had to grow into. But lucky for you, right? Lucky for you that you have this resource and you have us to be able to have these conversations with you. And again, hey man, we're just talking, right? So let's talk. Mr. Bell, you want to introduce yourself to the young man just real quickly, and then we'll jump into these topics?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, fellas. Well, it's afternoon. Might be morning to some of you, or at night when you're watching this. But yeah, my name is Sean Bell, and I am originally from Ohio. I have been in Atlanta for almost as much or as long as I have been an Ohioan. And so down here, I have pretty much been an educator in some form or fashion. So currently I have my own consulting business, and I also work for a workforce development program where we train young individuals a lot like you who are Black and brown. We train them in IT, and our goal is to make sure that we can just minimize the opportunity divide that's out there for young adults. So it's a pleasure being here with you all today and being able to give you some knowledge that I wish I had when I was your age.
Absolutely, man. Let's jump right into it. So you heard my opening, Sean, around peace, and how I was introduced to peace and what peace meant to me at this age. Think about it, our population of young men here are somewhere between age 10 and age 20. What did peace mean to you, right, when you were in that age range? Like, did you grab that? Did you have an idea of what that meant, and how did that work in your life then, and also now? Like, can you just transition, talk about, not now, what does that mean to you?
Absolutely. I think that I'm a lot like you and a lot like the young men that are watching this. I really didn't understand what peace was. And I think a lot of times we don't understand what peace is until we don't have it. I think a lot of times we put different things, whether it's sports or, we want to make sure that our grades are good, or, for me, I was very particular in how I did things, a little OCD when it came to those things. And I think a lot of times we don't know what peace is until it's disrupted. And so I learned that my mother used to always speak, powerful affirmations in my life, and I learned that through those I gained peace. Much like you, I was also someone who had faith and went to church, but I didn't really learn about it until I got to be a little bit older. And so I think as you're going through life, it's important to write where you feel the best at, whether it's in front of a computer, playing a game, whether it's writing, whether it's math. I think the earlier that you make that determination and what really gives you peace, those things, when they're not there and they disrupt, you'll be prepared a little bit more for those disruptions that take place. I know as we're sitting here right now, it's really important for me to be able to read and to be able to spend time by myself. I'm realizing that that's very important. I'm no longer an athlete like I was when I was younger, but I do think that meditation and those, I can still hear my mother's words and the affirmations that she told me, that allowed for me to actually have peace. And so it's really difficult, even as I write in the book. It's very difficult to see what that is. But I think that as you start, and the earlier that you start to look for it, the earlier you're able to understand when you don't have it, as opposed to when you do. And then it's easier to say, okay, I need this to have peace. I need to have my peace. I need to have quiet. I need to be able to walk away. I need to be able to get things off my chest, right? I need to be able to yell sometimes, or I need to be able to cry, or I need music. I need headphones, whatever it may be. And I think those things change as you get older.
Man, those are great examples. Those were great visuals that you talked about. I need to yell. I need music. Those were great visuals for these young men. I mean, I was thinking about it too. I'm like, man, yeah, I need to golf. I need to walk. I need my quiet time. Like I need quiet time. I need to read. So I know. So hopefully, young men, you guys got an understanding, like a more concrete understanding of this abstract concept called peace, right? Like you can't grab peace, right? You definitely can feel it, but you can't grab peace. Um, so speaking of that, Sean, I mean, in the news, as of late, and we're talking last year, even up until yesterday in New York, a lot of, young men of color are not at peace, right? There are things that are happening in our country, socio-politically, that are causing us to want to yell, to find some peace. And I know, young men, all of you are not, black and brown, who are watching this, and who the book is for. But I do want to talk about this for a second, in terms of peace. I would love to have Mr. Bell's recommendation to you young men who are seeing these things on the news and maybe feeling unsure. Maybe, peace is the last thing you're feeling right now. Um, what would you tell them? Like, how should they navigate this space, Sean?
Yeah, I think it's important, young men, to fight for peace. That's what I wrote. You have to fight for it, and it's not necessarily contingent upon what is going on around us. And we're the only ones that can truly provide that peace, and it starts in our minds, right? So I don't want to put what's going on in the world and to establish it as a distraction, but at the same time, it can be a distraction from whatever it is that you have going on. And so we have to be able to figure out what's going to give us more purpose, in all of this. What's going to continue to keep us moving without, getting in our heads, and continue to, because we've been through this. This is something that we've constantly gone through, and I know that a lot of times that makes it even worse, because it's like, can we ever get through this? But what if we can't? Have we ever looked at the fact that this may just be the way that it might be for a while, and whatever we do right now may be for another generation that's coming behind us, right? So I think, getting involved, if you feel really passionately about the situation that's going on, definitely there are ways that you can get involved and make a difference. Or if you just need to go for a run in your neighborhood or your backyard, I know it's difficult. I think we owe it to ourselves to continue to do the things that we do, and not necessarily live in fear, but at the same time understand, that, we can definitely be changers of and a little bit of change that can continue to keep us, progressing. And I think it's really a hard dynamic to wrap our minds around. I'm in my 40s, so I can only imagine what you all are thinking out there. Those of you who are younger, I don't have the answers, but I do know that, if you can just get a few minutes of peace a day, it can definitely help you, to look at these things in an objective manner, and to figure out how you're going to, make your way in the world.
That's great advice, man. Great advice. So to wrap it up, gentlemen, I want to ask Mr. Bell one more question that I know you guys are probably wanting to know as well. So you wrote about peace and you wrote about faith. You had a number of things that you could have, uh, number of these conversations that you could have tapped into. Why those two?
I believe that both of these and everything in the book is just powerful. All of all of the different terms that we could have spoken about are definitely something that's going to make an impact on all of you. But for me, these two were the most prominent in my life. I was born, my mother was told that she couldn't have any kids. And so um, she always just said it was her faith that just brought me here. And so even as a young child, the way that I was brought up and the way that people responded to me and my family was almost as if I was some type of miracle child. Not everybody has that. But I did realize at a young age that, there's something to this faith. If it brought me into the world, then it's definitely something that I can, hold on to in the midst and continue to keep hope alive, right? So I think it's important to have faith in something. And for me, of course, it's God. But sometimes we don't always, even those of us who say that we believe in God, don't always have the faith, right? One of the prayers that I've been praying lately is help my unbelief,
Right.
right? But I think that it's very important to understand that you are going to have times in which you don't believe and you may not have faith. And there's some times where you just have faith in different things. Sometimes it's a faith in our own abilities that gets us through, and sometimes it's a faith in another person, and sometimes it's simply the faith that is in our Christian or our religious walk that may continue to guide us. So it's really a big part of my life. And as I was speaking earlier with peace, I didn't realize how important peace was until I had it missing in my life. And I think my upbringing and knowing that there was a peaceful environment. I was talking to my sister and she was saying that we didn't even know when our parents were arguing. You all out there maybe the same way. You talk to your siblings and had no idea that your parents were even having any type of argument whatsoever. But that's how I grew up. And so when I was in an environment that was not peaceful to me, I realized, okay, I had to do something. And it was at an early age. I was actually one of the only African Americans in my school at the age of 5. And so I was being compared to all the time, and I had to deal with race at a very early age. And that disturbed my peace for the first time as a kindergartner. And so I had to realize, well, what am I going to do at school all day so that I can actually have peace? And so I became one of the best scholars that there were. And the teachers asked me to teach everyone else
Yeah.
how to do their handwriting and math and everything. And although a lot of people would have called me a teacher's pet at that particular time, it kept me not only safe, but it gave me peace in knowing that I had something of value to add to the world. So those two aspects are very important. I think that most achievers, most people who are my age, even younger, would be able to tell you all that if you can grasp around peace and faith and get those two things in your life and understand bit by bit, because it's going to take a journey in order for you to get there, what these two things mean, then man, the sky is the limit for you all. You can do whatever you want to do in life.
Man, that's great information. I can definitely see why you were attracted to those two prompts there, man, because it definitely speaks and resonates with your life experiences. Hey, young man, you heard him mention this thing about being a classroom pet, a teacher's pet, and whatever. Let me tell you something. Let them call you what they want to call you. Let them call you sellouts, Uncle Toms, goody two shoes, whatever they want to call you now. Because one day they're going to call you boss. They're going to call you king. They're going to call you supervisor, and they're going to call you for a job if you continue
Yeah.
to you continue to live in excellence. So, we want to thank Mr. Bell for both his written contribution as well as this contribution to the project. We hope that you guys learned a lot out of it. I did in this, in these few minutes, and we'll look to see you on the next one. But until then, hey man, we're just talking.
Yes, sir.